everyone. So I'm your host Deepak Verma. We come with a new topic today, the chromosomal aberration. So it should be actually variation in chromosome structure and number. That should be the actual thing I have gone to discuss with you. So so the term genetic variation refers to genetic differences among numbers of same species or between different species. So up to the last two videos, we have focused primarily on the variation in a specific gene that is called the allelic variation. So now we emphasize to large type of genetic changes that affect the structure and number of eukaryotic chromosomes. These larger alterations may affect the expression of many genes and thereby influence phenotype. Variation in chromosome structure and numbers are great importance in the field of genetics because they are critical in evolution of new species and have widespread medical relevance. In addition, agriculture genetics also discovered such variation and lead to development in new crops which may quite profitable. So begin to start anything. So what is the question? So my question is, what techniques are used to visualize and study the chromosome inside the cell? See, whenever we are not so what is the chromosome, how this seen, and what are the technique to see. So first next slide. So we have to study first the how to analyze the chromosomes. So for to analysis chromosome, the technique cytogenetics use. So genetics study chromosomes number and structure by staining dividing cells with certain dyes and then examine them with a microscope. The analysis of stained chromosomes is main activity of the discipline called cytogenetics. Cytogenetics had its root in the research of several 19th century European biologists who discovered chromosomes and observed their behavior during meiosis, mitosis and fertilization. This research blossomed during the 20th century as microscope improved and better procedures are prepared and staining chromosomes were developed. The demonstration that genes residue on chromosomes boosted interest in this research and led to important studies of chromosome number and structure. Today, this cytogenetics has significant applied aspect, especially in medicine, where it is used to determine whether disease conditions are associated with chromosome abnormalities or not. To analyze the chromosome, researchers perform most cytological analysis on dividing cells usually using cells in the middle of mitosis. To enrich for cells at this stage, they have traditionally used rapid growing materials such as animal embryos or plant root tip. However, the development of cell culturing techniques has made it possible to study chromosome in other types of cell. For example, human white blood cells can be collected from peripheral blood separated from non-dividing red blood cells and put into the culture, as I have shown you here. The white cells are then stimulated to divide by chemical treatment, and midway through the division, a sample of cells is prepared for cytological analysis. Thus, usual procedure is to treat the dividing cells with a chemical that disables the mitotic spindle. The effect of this interference is to trap the chromosomes in mitosis when they are most easy to see. Mitotically arrested cells are then swallowed by immersion in a hypotonic solution that causes the cell to take up the water by osmosis. The contents of each cell are diluted by addition water so that when the cell are squashed on microscopic slide, the chromosomes were spread out and uncultured fashion. This technique greatly facilitated subsequent analysis, especially in the chromosome number is large. For many years, it was erroneously thought the human cells contains 48 chromosomes. The correct number, 46, was determined only after the swelling technique was used to separate the chromosome within individual mitotic cells. For most details, I have shown in the next slide. So now the question arises how we see the chromosomes. So the excellent non-fluorescent staining technique have also been developed to visualize the chromosomes. The most popular of them uses the Giemsa stain. So it is a mixture of dyes named after its inventor, Gustav Giemsa. So it's like it creates a reproducible pattern of bands on each chromosome. So left side one figure. It shows not. It is not very clear why chromosomes shows band when they are stained with Giemsa. It may be that these type of dyes react preferentially with certain DNA sequences or with the proteins associated with them, and that these target sequences are distributed in a characteristic way within each chromosome. So the most advanced technique used cytogenetics today is called the chromosome painting, the right side one figure. With this technique, colorful chromosomes image are created by treating chromosome spread by fluorescent labeled DNA fragments that have been isolated and characterized in the laboratory. Such a fragment may, for instance, come from a particular gene. The DNA fragment is chemically labeled with a fluorescent dye in the laboratory and then applied to chromosomes that have been spread on a glass slide. Under the right conditions, the DNA fragment will bind to chromosomal DNA that is complementary to its sequence. This binding, in effect, labels the chromosomal DNA with fluorescent dye that is present in the DNA fragment. So, by these methods, we can visualize, we can see the chromosomes. So now we move to the human chromosomes. So this picture shows a human karyotype. The procedure for making karyotype is same as I have discussed earlier. A karyotype is a micrograph in which all the chromosomes within a single cell have been arranged in a standard fashion. When preparing a karyotype, the chromosomes are aligned with the short arm on the top and the long arm on the bottom. By conventional, the chromosomes are numbered roughly according to their size, with largest chromosomes having the smallest number. For example, human chromosome 1, 2, 3 are relatively large, whereas 21, 22 are the smallest. So, expectation to the numbering system involves sex chromosomes which are designed with letters for humans X and Y. So, because different chromosomes often have similar size and centromeric location, genetics uses additional method to accurately identify each type of chromosome within a karyotype. So in case of human chromosomes, approximately 300 G bands, G banding for Ginsa band actually. So G bands can usually be distinguished during metaphase. A larger number of G bands can observed in pro-metaphase chromosomes because they are more extended at the metaphase chromosomes. So I want to see the next picture. This is the picture. G banding in chromosomes. So this picture shows the conventional numbering system that is used to designate G band along a set of chromosomes. The left chromatid in each pair of sister chromatids shows expected banding pattern during metaphase, and the right chromatid shows the banding pattern as it would appear during prometaphase. Why this banding pattern of eukaryotic chromosomes useful? First, we stand individual chromosomes can be distinguished from each other even if they are similar size and centromeric location, and what is that? The chromosomal rearrangement or changes in the total growth of genetic material are most likely to detect in banding chromosomes. Also, chromosome banding can also be used to assess evolutionary relationship between species. So, research studies have shown that similarity of chromosome banding pattern is a good measure of genetic relatedness. So now we move to our discussion to the changes in the chromosome structure. With an understanding that chromosomes rapidly come in the variety of shape and size, let's consider how the structure of normal chromosome can be modified. In some cases, the total amount of genetic material within a single chromosome can be increased or decreased significantly. Alternatively, the genetic material in one or more chromosomes may be arranged without affecting the total material. So, what are the changes in the chromosome? So, there are four types of changes. So, deletion. This figure actually shows mutations characterized as deletion, duplication, inversion, and translocation. Deletion and duplication are arranged. Deletion and duplication are changed in the total amount of genetic material within a single chromosome. When a deletion occurs, a segment of chromosome material is missing. In other words, the affected chromosome is deficient in a single significant amount of genetic material. The term deficiency is also used to describe the missing region of a chromosome. In contrast, a duplication occurs when the section of chromosome is repeated compared with the normal parent chromosome. Inversion and interlocation are chromosomal rearrangement, and inversion involves a change in the direction of the genetic material along the single chromosome. As I shown in here, in this figure, a segment of one chromosome has been inverted so that the other four G bands in opposite to the dead parent chromosome. A translocation occurs when a segment of a chromosome becomes attached to different chromosome or a different part of the same chromosome. A simple translocation occurs when a single piece of chromosome is attached to another chromosome. In a reciprocal translocation, the two different types of chromosome exchange pieces, thereby producing two abnormal chromosomes carrying translocation. The loss of genetic material in a deletion tend to be detrimental to an organism. So, a chromosomal deletion occurs when a chromosome breaks in one or more places in a fragment of chromosomes is lost. As in figure, the left side one, the terminal deletion. A normal chromosome has broken into two separate pieces. The piece without centromere is lost and degraded. This event procedure a chromosome with the terminal deletion. On the right side one, the interstitial, a chromosome has broken into two places to produce three chromosomal fragments. The central fragment is lost and the two other pieces reattach to each other. This process has created a chromosome with an interstitial deletion. Deletion can also be created when recombination takes place at incorrect location between two homologous chromosomes. The products of this type of aberrant recombination event are one chromosome with deletion and another chromosome with duplication. This process is examined by another techniques, advanced techniques. Now we move to the non-allelic homologous recombination leading to the duplication and the deletion. Duplication results extra genetic material. They are usually caused by abnormal event during recombination. Under normal circumstances, crossing over occurs at analogous sites between homologous chromosomes. On rare occasions, a crossover may occur at misaligned site on the homologs. What causes? So the question comes here is what causes this misalignment? So in some cases, a chromosome may carry two or more homologous segments of DNA that have identical to or similar sequences. These are called repetitive sequences because they occur multiple times. So a crossover then occurs, and this crossover called as non-allelic homologous recombination because it has occurred at homologous site, that is repetitive sequences, but the alleles of neighboring genes are not properly aligned. The result is that one chromatid has an internal duplication and another chromatid has a deletion. So this figure shows the chromosome with an extra genetic material carries gene duplication because the number of copies of gene C has been increased from 1 to 2. In most cases, gene duplication happens as rare, sporadic events during the evolution of a species. We will consider how these multiple copies of gene can involve in a family of genes with specialized functions. So now what are these? So duplication provides additional material for gene evolution, sometimes leading to the formation of gene family. So first we have I'm going to discuss this figure, then I will give you an practical explanation for this duplication. So as you see here, in contrast to gene duplication that causes some disease, majority of chromosomal duplication have no phenotypic effect. So nevertheless, they are vitally important because they provide raw material for the addition of more genes into the species chromosomes. Over the course of many generations, this can lead to the formation of a gene family consisting of two or more genes that are similar to each other. As shown this figure, the member of a gene family are derived from a same ancestral gene. Over time, two copies of an ancestral gene can accumulate different mutations. Therefore, after many generations, the two genes will be similar but not identical. See? So, during the evolution, this type of event can occur several times, creating family of many similar genes. When see, I have to use the pen. So see, this portion is the one ancestral gene. Now what happens? It duplicates in the same chromosome. See, this is here, and this also duplicates it here. So now two genes, but now in this gene one mutation is comes here and turn it to this one, and this gene is comes here. So now this is gene A and this is gene B. Got my point? Okay. Now this is a practical example. This hemoglobin, how this hemoglobin arise in the okay. When two or more genes are derived from a single ancestral gene, the genes are said to be homologous. Homologous within a single species are called paralogs and constitute a gene family. A well-studied example of a gene family is shown in here, which illustrate the evolution of the globin gene family found in humans. The globin gene encoded polypeptides that are subunit of protein that function in oxygen binding. For example, hemoglobin is a protein found in red blood cells. Its function to carry out oxygen throughout the body. The globin gene family is composed of 14 paralogs. What they are originally derived from a single ancestral global gene. According to an evolutionary analysis, the ancestral globin gene first duplicated about 500 million years ago and became separate genes encoding myoglobin and the hemoglobin groups of genes. The primordial hemoglobin gene duplicated into a alpha chain gene and beta chain gene, which subsequently duplicated to produce several genes located on chromosomes 16 and 11. Respectively, currently 14 globin genes are found in 3 different human chromosomes. Okay, see, for this ancestral gene, now this myoglobin and hemoglobin, this hemoglobin alpha and beta chain, now these are the paralogs. These are the paralogs, these. Okay, next slide. So now we comes to the inversion, which often occurs without phenotypic consequences. So we now turn our attention to inversions, the changes in the chromosome structure that involve a rearrangement in genetic material. A chromosome with an inversion contains a segment that has been flipped to the opposite direction. Researchers classify inversions according to the location of the centromere. If the centromere lies within the inverted region of the chromosome, the inverted region is known as pericentric. And alternatively, if the centromere is found outside the inverted region, the inverted region is called paracentric inversions. When a chromosome contains an inversion, the total amount of genetic material remains the same in a normal chromosome. Therefore, the general majority of inversions do not have any phenotypic consequences. In rare cases, however, an inversion can alter the phenotype of individual. Whether or not this occurs is related to the boundaries of the inverted segment. When the inversion occurs, the chromosome is broken into two places and the center piece flips around to produce the inversions. If either breakpoint occurs within a vital gene, the function of gene is expected to be disrupted, possibly producing a phenotypic effect. Now we move to the translocation. So translocation involved exchange between the different chromosomes. So this is another type of chromosomal rearrangement in which a piece from one chromosome is attached to another chromosome. Eukaryotic chromosomes have telomeres which tend to prevent translocation from occurring. So Telomers actually specialized repeat sequence of DNA that are found at the end of the normal chromosome. Telomers allow cells to identify where a chromosome ends and prevents the attachment of chromosomal DNA to the natural end of a chromosome. If cell is exposed to agents that cause chromosomes to break, the broken end lack telomeres and are said to be reactive. A reactive end readily binds to another reactive end. If a single chromosome breaks occur, DNA repair enzyme will usually recognize the two reactive ends and join them back together. The back together, the chromosome is repaired properly. However, if multiple chromosomes are broken, the reactive end may be joined incorrectly to produce abnormal chromosomes. See the left side one figure. This is one mechanism that caused reciprocal translocation to occur. A second mechanism that caused a translocation is an abnormal crossover as shown in the right figure 1. A reciprocal translocation can be produced when two non-homologous chromosomes cross over. This type of rare aberrant event results in a rearrangement of genetic material through not to a change in the total amount of genetic material. The reciprocal translocation we have considered thus so far is called balanced translocation because the total amount of genetic material is not altered. Like inversions, balanced translocation usually occurs without any phenotypic consequences because the individual has a normal amount of genetic material. In few cases, balanced translocation can result in position effects similar to those that can occur in inversions. In addition, carriers a reciprocal translocation are at risk having offspring with an unbalanced translocation in which segment or portion of genetic material are duplicated and or deleted. Unbalanced translocation are generally associated with phenotypic abnormality or even lethality. Now we move. Variation in chromosomes number. So as we have seen this last section, the chromosome structure can be altered in a variety of ways. Likewise, the total number of chromosomes can vary. Eukaryotic species typically contain several chromosomes that are inherited as one or more sets. Variation in chromosome number can be categorized into two ways: variation in the number of set of chromosomes and variation in the number of particular chromosomes within a set. So organisms that are euploid have chromosome number that is exactly multiple of a chromosome set. In Drosophila, for example, a normal individual has 8 chromosomes. This species is diploid, having two sets of 4 chromosomes each. In normal fruit fly is euploid because 8 chromosomes divided by 4 chromosomes per set equal to exact set. On rare occasions, an abnormal fruit fly can produce with 12 chromosomes containing 3 sets of 4 chromosomes each. This alteration in euploid produces a triploid fruit fly with 12 chromosomes. Such a fly is also euploid because it has exactly 3 sets of chromosomes. Organism with 3 or more set of chromosomes is called polyploid. So this the thing actually I want to show you. So geneticists use the letter N to represent a set of chromosomes. A diploid organism is referred as 2N, a triploid organism is 3N, a tetraploid is 4N, and so on. A second way in which chromosome number can vary by aneuploidy. Such variation involves a alteration in the chromosome of particular chromosomes. So the total number of chromosome is not an exact multiple of set. For example, an abnormal fruit fly could contain 9 chromosomes instead of 8 because it has 3 copies of chromosome 2 instead of normal 2 copies. This figure C. Such an animal is said to be have trisomy 2 or be the trisomic. Instead of being perfectly diploid 2n, a trisomy animal is 2n plus 1. By comparison, a fruit fly could be lacking a single chromosome such as chromosome 1 and containing a total 7 chromosomes 2n minus 1. This animal is monosomic and described as a monosomy 1. So now we begin with this variation in chromosome number. So aneuploidy causes an imbalance in gene expression that are often determinant to phenotype of the individual. The phenotype of every eukaryotic species is influenced by thousands of different genes. In human, for example, a set of chromosomes contain approximately 20,000 to 25,000 different genes. To produce a phenotypically normal individual, intricate condition has to occur in the expression of thousands of genes. In the case of humans and other diploid species, evolution has resulted in a developmental process that works correctly when somatic cells have 2 copies of each chromosome. In other words, when a human is diploid, the balance of gene expression among many different genes usually produce a person with a normal phenotype. So aneuploidy commonly caused an abnormal phenotype. To understand why it considered the relationship between gene expression and chromosome number in a species that has 3 pairs of chromosome, as shown in here, this figure, the level of gene expression is influenced by the number of genes per cell. Compared with a diploid cell, if a gene is carried on a chromosome is present in 3 copies instead of 2, more than the gene product is typically made. For example, a gene present in a 3 copies instead of 2 may produce 150% of the gene product, though the number may be vary due to the effect of gene regulation. Alternatively, if only 1 copy of that gene is present due to missing chromosome, less the gene product is usually made, perhaps only 50%. Therefore, in trisomy or monosomy individual, an imbalance occurs between the level of gene expression on the chromosome found in pairs versus the one that is not. So aneuploidy in humans causes abnormal phenotype. A key reason why geneticists are so interested in aneuploidy is relationship to certain disorder in humans. Even though most people are born with the normal number of chromosomes, alteration in chromosome number occurs fairly frequently during the gamete formation. About 5 to 10% of all fertilized human eggs results in embryo with an abnormality in chromosome number. In most cases, these abnormal embryos do not develop properly and result in a spontaneous abortion very early in the pregnancy. Approximately 50% of all spontaneous abnormal abortion are due to alteration in chromosome number. So in some cases, the abnormality in chromosome number produce an offspring that survive to birth or longer. Several human disorders involving abnormality in chromosome number, the most common are the trisomy of chromosome 13, 18 or 21. The abnormality in the chromosome of the sex chromosome. So I have shown this autosomal and sex chromosomal. So these in the table. Most of the known trisomy involve the chromosomes that are relatively small, chromosome 13, 18 and 21, and carry fewer genes compared to the larger chromosome. Trisomies of the other human autosome and monosomies of all autosomes are presumed to produce a lethal phenotype, and many have been found in spontaneously aborted embryos and fetus. So, see this trisomy 13, 18, and 21. These all comes in the autosome. While in the sex chromosome, this extra X is here. See, this extra Y is here. So this extra X is here, and there is a total loss of one X or Y chromosome. So these are the syndromes name I have written here. This, and these are the characteristics. So now we comes to the euploidy. We now turn our attention to the change in number of sets of chromosomes, referred to as variation in euploidy. Most species of animal are diploid. In some cases, change in euploidy are not well tolerated. For example, polyploidy in human, not in human, actually mammals, is generally a lethal condition. However, many examples of natural occurring variation in euploidy occur. A haplodiploid species, which include many species to be bees, wasps, and ants, one of the sexes is haploid, usually the male, and the other is diploid. For example, male bees, which are called as drone, contains a single set of chromosomes. They are produced from unfertilized eggs. By comparison, female bees are present from the fertilized eggs and are diploid. Many examples of vertebrate polypeptide animals have been discovered. Interestingly, on several occasions, animals that are morphologically very similar can be found in diploid species as well as separate polyploid species. This situation occurs among the certain amphibian and reptiles. This example is the hyla. Now the second point is variation in euploidy can occur in certain tissue within animals. Now this is also seen that in a same animal, two types of cells showing the different chromosome numbers. So now the third point is variation in euploidy are common in plants. So we now turn our attention to variation of euploidy that occurs in plant. Compared with animal, plants are more commonly exist polyploidy. Among ferns and flowering plants, at least 30 to 35% of species are polyploid. Polyploid is also important in agriculture. Many of fruits and grains we eat are produced from polyploid plants. For example, the species of wheat that we use to make bread is hexaploid, that arose from the union of diploid genomes from three closely related species. Different species, strawberries are diploid, tetraploid, hexaploid, and even octaploid also. So now how this aneuploidy and polyploidy produce, actually happens, actually not produce, happens. So meiotic non-disjunction can produce this. So this non-disjunction during meiosis can occurs during the anaphase of the meiosis 1 or meiosis 2. If it happens during meiosis 1, an entire bivalent migrate to the one pole. Following the completion of the meiosis, the four resulting haploid cells produced from this event are abnormal. If non-disjunction occurs during the anaphase of meiosis 2, the net result is two abnormal and two normal haploid cells. If a gamete that is missing a chromosome is viable and participate in fertilization, the resulting offspring is monosomic for the missing chromosome. Alternatively, if a gamete carrying an extra chromosome unites with a normal gamete, the offspring will be trisomic. In rare cases, all the chromosomes can undergo non-disjunction and migrate to one of the daughter cells. The net result of complete non-disjunction is a diploid cell and a cell without any chromosome. The cell without chromosome is non-viable, but the diploid cell might participate in fertilization with a normal haploid gamete to produce a triploid individual. Therefore, a complete non-disjunction can produce individuals that are polyploid. So changes, the last thing is the changes in euploidy can occur by autopolyploidy, allopolyploidy and allopolyploidy. Different mechanisms account for changes in the number of chromosome sets among natural population of plants and animals. Actually, I have to see the next picture for this to understand this. Yeah, this one. So, as completed non-disjunction due to gamete defect in the spindle apparatus can produce an individual with one or more set of chromosomes. This individual known as autopolyploid. The perfect auto and the term the prefix auto means the self and polyploid means the many set of chromosomes, refers an increase in the number of chromosome set within a single species. A much more common mechanism for change in chromosome number is called allopoid. Allopolyploid is a result of interspecies crosses. An allopoid that has a set of chromosomes from two different species is called allodiploid. This event is most likely to occur between species that are close evolutionary relatives. For example, closely related species of grass may inbreed to produce allodiploids. So, as here is shown by the figure C, can allopolyploid contains two or more set of chromosomes from two or more species. In this case, allotetraploid contains two complete set of chromosomes from two different species for a total of four sets. In nature, allotetraploid usually arise from allodiploid. This can occur when a somatic cell in an allodiploid undergoes complete non-disjunction to create an allotetraploid cells. In plants, such cell can continue to grow and produce a section of plant that is allotetraploid. If this part of the plant produce seeds by self-pollination, the seeds would give rise to allotetraploid offspring. Cultivated wheat that I have taught earlier, that's hexaploid, is a plant in which two species must have interbreed to create an allotetraploid, and then third species interbreed with a allotetraploid to create an allohexaploid. This topic is also finished. Now, in a very briefly, I am going to discuss. So, first is the variation in chromosome structure. So, among different species, natural variation exists with regard to chromosome structure and number. Three features of chromosome that did in their identification are centromere location, size, and the bending pattern. Variations in chromosome structures include deletion, duplication, inversions, and translocation. Chromosomes break can create terminal and interstitial deletions. Some deletions are associated with human genetic disorders such as Cry-du-Chat syndrome. Non-allelic homologous recombination can create gene duplication and deletion. Over time, gene duplication can lead to the formation of gene families such as globin gene family. Comparatively, genomic hybridization is one technique for detecting chromosome deletion and duplication. It is widely used in the analysis of cancer cells. Inversions can be pericentric or paracentric. In an inversion heterozygote, crossing over can create deletions and duplication in the resulting chromosomes. Two mechanisms that may produce translocation are chromosome breakage and subsequent repair and non-homologous crossing over. Due to the formation of translocation across individuals that carry a balanced translocation may have a high probability of producing unbalanced gametes. Now we move to the variation in the chromosome number. So chromosomes number variation may involve changes in the number of sets, euploidy, or changes in the number of particular chromosome within a set, aneuploidy. Aneuploidy is often determined due to an imbalance in gene expression. Down syndrome, an example of an aneuploidy in the humans, increase in frequency with the maternal age. Among animals, variation in euploidy is relatively rare, though it does occur. Some tissues within an animal may exhibit polyploidy. Polyploidy in plants is relatively common and has found many advantages in agriculture. Triploid plants are usually seedless because they cannot segregate their chromosomes evenly during the meiosis. So now I have finished this topic also. Now this tutorial is also finished. So I am very thankful to you. You are listening for patiently. Thank you all.